Every touch point's important. All the things that you send a client should reflect the quality that you want.
Yeah. People see the momentum, and people are like, oh, this is no negative momentum, and I don't want to be associated because that will drag people then down. And it's
kind of have a jaded view on creatives because, the last guy charged me $5,000, and then I found that he got it off a stock site.
We have not really prepared this, but welcome to the Infinite Creative Podcast. My name is Fitz, and I got my
Comprogdre. Hi, everybody. My name is Sean, and we are back with another episode. It's been a while. We've been busy doing lots of freelance, lots of creative stuff, and lots of shenanigans. So
all the shenanigans.
Go ahead. What have we missed in you in a month? Like, give me like the top thing that's happened to Fitz since our last episode.
Oh, my life is chaotic, crazy, and weird.
Cool.
So currently, one of my clients, the beef bootlegger, I was like trying to hook you up with him and everything. He's making moves fast, and he has a lot of momentum. So he's like kind of inspiring like the group where I'm in, and he's like moving really fast. So in like 2 or 3 months, he started a business, already got like lined up with like the UFC gym, and he has an idea, he does it, and it maybe works, maybe doesn't work. It's kind of like trial and error on a fast pace, like Elon Musk style.
All right. Well, we'll give some kind of back story of this. Like, what does the beef bootlegger even do? So what does he do?
Back in the day when they had those days where you cannot drink and you got to be like sneaky about it, and you put the bottle in the shoe, and it's like the
bootlegger.
Yeah, bootlegging. I cannot talk anymore, so that happened in a month.
It's okay. You're a foreigner that's learning about bootlegging like this. So that's okay. That's totally cool.
Yeah, so he does that with steak. So high quality steak, and he's bootlegging them. Okay. He gets them from the best farms and is making sure there are like no vaccines, GMOs, and all that shenanigans. So it's high class steak. It's a little bit more expensive than Publix.
Okay.
But because I'm right at the source, I'm kind of getting hooked up and
getting that high quality grade A, double A, triple A meat. I don't even know how they grade meat, but all right. Well, that's really cool. So he's making moves. It's really interesting when you run into these kind of business people that move at such a speed, right? They're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing a video, now they're doing a website, now they're doing that, now they're going to this speaking gig, now they're talking to these people, now they're doing social media, now he's picking up his kid. So
it can be crazy when you say it like that, and I'm like. The weird part was like when we were at the iceberg cold plunge, and like my personal trainer that I got for one of the challenges. So I got a free personal trainer, free meat, and free everything. So I'm just like, I'm impressed. So he said like, I'm impressed how fast Stu's moving, and like people see the momentum and then they want to be part of it. And then they're like, hey, you can be my spot because like he's putting out that energy, and because he's putting out that energy, it ripples. It's not like that all of the things are working instantly, but the ripple, that stuff then works, so the one thing might not work, but the next thing is working, and it's bigger than the first thing. So it's like, he's moving fast, he's having impact in the community, he's connecting with like top players in a way. So I'm like, damn. Well,
that's cool. Yeah. So I got to meet him too. It's funny, we're doing a big beef bootlegger shout out here, but the thing that kind of struck me is just the directness, right? Like I think when I meet people that are very direct, they ask the right questions. If you say something, they're like, wait, why is that? And why would that be? And just like being like very direct and quick. And I think that allows people like that to kind of switch gears really quickly, because they just like are very direct. They're not like, they're not beating around the bush. They're not worrying about your feelings. They're just like, well, why would you do that? And is that what people do? And where did you get that from? Where did you learn that? And I've never heard that before. What's that? And like, and catching on to things, because there's so much people tell you that you just like, if you're not present in the moment, you just go over. But I feel like good business people are good at being like, wait, you just said that. What's that? Go deeper into that.
Yeah. And how can you help me with that? And the other thing that I kind of learned is like, I worked with clients, and some clients, they want to be like the expert, and they don't take advice, but they hire you to be the expert and do the thing. And it's like, this is not really working out in that way, but if you really need the money, you can deal with that, but it's like painful. But for example, he listens and it works. And I'm like, okay, now he's becoming dangerous. He adapted all the skills, and I'm like, okay, he did his own reel. It's performing really well. And I'm like, dang, okay, but I'm like still the time saver, so one of those things is like I do volume and save him a lot of time because he's working 9 to 5 and doing XYZ and having kids, families, and all those events. And I'm just like, holy moly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the same thing any of us small business owners have to deal with. And I feel like creatives don't get it as good as business people do, and technology people and things like that, because us creatives, we just, we figured out what we did by doing a bootstrap type of mentality of like, oh, I'm just going to figure it out, and I'll hit my head against it until I figure it out. And I think us creatives, we kind of make that mistake in the rest of our business, right? We just think, oh, I'll just smack my head against it until I figure it out. Where I feel like business people get the idea of like, no, my whole focus is the business. Everything else I need to get out to other people. And I think it's so smart.
There's also another aspect that I kind of learned in that time, what was a kind of interesting lesson, and it's like it's a lot of momentum and how to deal with momentum, and it's like basically momentum is everything in a way. But there's people who are burned out and they lose their momentum and they come up with a cool idea, and then they're like, okay, you're gonna do now events because like that other person is doing events, but because they don't have the passion and the fire anymore that you had in the beginning, and they lost the momentum, they do it for a week or two, and then they just crash down, and nobody wants to go because like, oh, the vibe is not there and the momentum is not there. And I'm just like, oh, so if you have that momentum, it's the most important part to keep that going, because if that burns out, everything just gets fucked up and you would not even know when it happens, because it's like you were like, oh yeah, I can pick that up again. Sure you can, but the momentum is gone. And it's like such a weird thing, because people are like doubting you or whatever, and it's like all the things. It's like a thousand cuts or whatever they say,
Yeah. You're right though. When you start to lose the momentum, when even you start to your energy starts to go down on the thing that you love the most. I think other people can tell, and you almost have to have this broader view, right? And we've talked about this before on this podcast, that when you start anything new, sadly, the people near you will care. Your friends will care, your family will care. But then it's funny, once you get past that like initial net of people, then people don't care. So you have to like be okay with that at the beginning. You have to have the larger view that people are not going to care, and that you're going to need to, carry the mission forward. You need to look into the horizon. You need to like see things before they're in front of you, right? So before people are all applauding you and you have all the money, you have to see that in your head. And I think a lot of people, I don't know if they think it's going to come quicker or sooner than they think. I don't know if they just get kind of beaten down, they get in their own head. I think a lot of people, I think they internalize a lot, right? So if like, I have an event, a lot of people don't come to my event, I think it's because they all hate me and they think I suck, when it's not necessarily that. Maybe the marketing wasn't there. Maybe just it was a weird weather day. There's just so many different things. So the way that you like don't internalize is you almost have to put on the blinders internal and just like, it's just the vision. Like even if I have the event, 2 people come, I someday want 100 people, but it's okay. Like these steps have to happen. And one thing I always tell clients, and I've started to take my own advice, because I feel like I do that a lot. Like I give really good advice and then I don't take it, and it takes me years to finally learn it myself. The thing I've been saying for years, but one of the things that I tell people is get out of the way of the mission. Yeah. And I think that I tell myself when I fail, right? Like so like last night there was a networking thing I could have gone to, right? And I didn't go to it. I was tired. I did other networking stuff throughout the day. Yeah. So, but it was okay, because I was like, I could have been like, you failed, Sean. You didn't go to the thing. Where I was like, no, just remove yourself out of the equation. The business didn't go to the thing, and that's okay. Like, it's not you failed, it's just the business didn't go. So maybe it was the business failed today, but then it's just, who cares? It's the business failed today, so whatever. And it didn't fail. Like, I made money yesterday. Invoices got paid. I got another lead yesterday that's really huge. So it's like, it's like, I've started to like really apply this kind of thing of like, you have to like give yourself space. You just have to. If you're like super hard on yourself and you start to just be like, well, why? It really comes down to expectations. You've got to lose the expectations. You can't be like, I expect myself to be this good, or I expect my level to be at this level. You just have to be like, there is no expectations. The chaos is chaos, right? Yeah. Like the world.
Chaos is the expectation.
Yeah. Well, and so, I think the biggest thing for you is for any business owner, and what's cool about the Beef Bootlegger, and I think what we've both seen, is he's not so caught in the details. If something goes wrong, like if it doesn't really perform, it's okay. He's like, I'm already on the bigger vision. I already got like 8 different nets out there. But if this net comes in tangled and no fish are in it, that's fine. Like I got 8 others out there. That's where I'm trying to get to, right? I want to have more nets. So like if one goes bad, I don't have to become dark, because we've all been there when like you depend on something to work and it doesn't work. And then you're just like, I'm screwed. Yeah. I'm so screwed. And you don't, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy then, right?
People see the momentum, and people are like, oh, this is now negative momentum and I don't want to be associated because that will drag people then down. And it's like, welcome to the circle of life.
Exactly.
It goes up and down and it's just like, but there's like so much to learn from, because like on the one side, yes, you got to set your goals and priorities, and I'm like, I feel like if you're hard on yourself, it's probably the wrong reason, because it doesn't help anybody, it doesn't help you, it doesn't help the clients, it doesn't help anybody besides like your self-doubt, and that is not good at all. So I'm like, the one thing that I learned also is like, you always can do more, and you need to believe it's possible. And sometimes there's people where you say like, hey, you can't do that, and then you see that and it's like, wait a minute, could I do that? Can I do that? And that's kind of what I saw, because like we had at ESC a guy who was like, oh, I'm working so hard, and he stood up and like, I have no time for anything. And he's an artist. And I'm just like, everybody's like, okay, so what you doing? And, and he had a lot of time. And then there's like people who have family, businesses and side things. And he's just claiming he has no time. And it's like, people were like making fun of him behind his back, because it's like, obviously you have a ton of time, but you believe you don't have time, and both is right and wrong at the same time, if that makes sense. Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't have necessarily made fun of him if I was there, just because like, it's just like that statement, like, your worst pain is your worst pain. My worst pain is my worst pain. So it's like, if they feel like they don't have time, they only know their story, so and the person with 2 kids, well, there's a person with 8 kids that would think that you're being like 2, so it's, but you're right though. It is funny when I've always thought, like, for like the last decade, when I catch people, even friends that are like, yeah, I just don't have the time. I'll be like, dude, wow, why we hung out? I don't have the time. And I'm just like, but really? Like, no time. Like 365 days a year times 24 hours. There's no time in any of that. Yeah, so, and that goes kind of back to the whole thing where it's like, it was just not one of your priorities in a way, and he didn't want to make his art project priority. He's like, I can't do anything. I'm like, please email me to check out my website. And it's like, nobody wants to email somebody with an essay because somebody's asking for a favor. It's like, that ain't happening. Like, you have to make it easy to being helped and yada yada yada. So it's like, well, and the thing that a lot of people don't get, especially in this like very selfish kind of realm that we live in now with social media and things, is that the best way for you to get helped is to help other people. Exactly. And that's the finger trap that people don't get, is they're just like, why won't anyone come and help me? And I keep asking the world, but it's like, but do you ask anyone what you could do to them? Help them. Yeah. Like, like I kind of say this to people that don't have business. Like, me as a web designer, if I had no business, all my clients fired me today, I would figure out how fired now. I'd be like, I would be like, who could I help then, right? Because so then I would be like, all right, fine, now is when I would do Fitzay's website. Now is when I would redo the Infinite Creative podcast website. Now is when I would like, maybe, and if still there was no jobs, now is when maybe I'd be like, okay, is there a nonprofit I care about in town that needs help? All the art stuff in Florida is like lost all their funding, so can I help artists and galleries? And so once you get outside yourself and then you're out there and people see you're out there, then they want to help you. Then everyone wants to help you. Yeah, that's also like a thing that reoccurred this month, where I'm like, okay, I got a ton of leads, like crazy ton, more than I can handle, and I'm like, but there's a ton of them where it's like, hey Fitz, let's have a meeting, let's hang out, and I want to learn, and I want to hire you. And you go into the meeting and they're like, yeah, I kind of want to hire you for $100 or $200, and I'm just like, it's like, it's already dead end before you can even say it. And I'm just like, how do you approach this now? Because like, you basically just reach out because like you want what I have, and I'm like, dang, I need to charge more, and I'm like, I want to hook up everybody, but I can't. And so now I'm like, what do I do now? And it's like, back in the day, like you just said, like, you can help your friends for free when you have the time, but if you don't have the time and you still want to help them, what you gonna do? No, it's true. And I've ran into a few cases in the last couple of months where I have
or I have outpriced. You know, I've always thought that I was actually undercharging for the longest time, and I still think that. I think I've undercharged a lot more than I've overcharged. But there's been some cases recently where I actually did look at the estimate, and I was like, I kind of did overdo it. Like, I didn't give them a way in, right? Like, if I was to pay for my first content writer, right, or if I was to pay for my first whatever, you know, they need to give me an in. So, like, the other day I met with an SEO expert, and I was like, okay, cool. So, like, you know, I just want to know, like, what's the bottom package I could get my clients on with you on? And he was like, yeah, $2,000 a month. And I was like, that's not a ton. Like, in the SEO world, you know, we all know people that probably charge more than that, but that's not a very easy in. Like, because like I had to explain it to him. I was like, well, they just paid $4 grand for the website, right? And that's not like a lot either. That's maybe on the lower end, maybe, but like I was like, so in their eyes, they're gonna think in 2 months they've already paid more than the website itself. And we all know that SEO takes at least 6 to 7 months for it to finally kick into high gear. Like, they're not going to immediately see anything from your work, and you're going to,
if it even works.
so it's like, so I had to kind of explain to him, give me an in, and that actually did a lot of good, because he was like, okay, that's a good point. He's like, all right, like, start softly. And I've started to do that in my process, and it's worked really well. Of like, that first deposit is probably the least amount of money in the whole project. So they're like, you know what is $500 to start the project? Like, if he screws this up, I'm not out that much money. Where I do see other creatives that are like, yep, there'll just be a $5,000 deposit today, and we've never done work before. And it's like, well, that's a lot. Would you pay $5 grand to a person that could really screw this up for all you know? Like,
good. Well, it's like, well,
it's not like an electrician where you have a certification. They're just calling themselves something, which we've talked about too.
Happens, you know, like. I mean, like, there's a certain amount of risk, but usually, like, you know, when people ask for those high amounts, they're either completely delusional or they really know what they're talking about, and it's either or. So it's technically easy to do the check, like, hey, did you do stuff like that beforehand? You know, so.
Well, what's interesting, so I was thinking about this the other day. So when you and I first met, we always talked about the future and Christo and the idea of like value-based pricing, and get your pricing up. You're probably undercharging and
get your money up.
And he would say some stuff that like would definitely give people sticker shock, like, right, like he'll have a girl right out of college. It's like, how much should I charge for like a branding package, and him like $10,000, and she'll be like, what the heck, that's way more than I've charged for anything by far. But what's funny is like that's a good message for real creatives. I love that message for people that like really do good work, will really kill themselves for the project because they care, they have a love for the game, they want to do great stuff. But what sucks is these are YouTube videos. Anyone can watch them. So the creatives can watch them. And then the guy that's like, oh, well, design looks easy. Videography looks kind of easy. So I'll charge what Chris does. Like, there's guys out there like Fitz that are charging 10 grand for a video. Why don't I just do that? You know? And those people kind of mess it up for the rest of us. Cause I can't tell you how many clients I've walked into this year that they were like, they're kind of have a jaded view on creatives. Cause like, the last guy charged me 5 grand, and then I found that he got it off a stock site. You know, I've ran into that like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, guys, stop, because now they don't want to pay money, because then you and I come in and they're like, well, I don't know, really, I think that's a high number, and you're like, dude, no, I'm the real one. That last guy was not the real one.
I mean, like, the Chris Do thing and the pricing in general, there's like different approaches. Now, I like the idea of like pricing yourself, you know, as a value. Like, you know, my service is like, let's say 5K or 3K, whatever it is, you know, and that is fair. But I'm also like trying to price like, what can they do with that service? You know, most people don't do that, because you can say like, hey, I draw an image and it's worth 10 grand. But if they want to sell that image, what is the street value? So I always try to do like, okay, if I do a video, how much money can I make with that video? Most people, like beginners, you know, they will not make any money with it. They will just spend money on it, and there's no return, there's no anything.
Right.
But if there's a strategy or like a system in place, or they're already established and they're already making money with content, then the pricing completely changes. But it's kind of like you have to know like with who you deal with, because like you can make a pretty video as a portfolio piece, and they maybe can close a person and make 10, 20, 50 grand, you know,
right,
and then it's worth it. But if it's just like, hey, you're doing yoga poses now and you want to try to get more clients, but you're not using it in the right way to promote it, yada yada yada, you don't get any return. But that's kind of on you. So how do you price this now, you know? So that's why I'm like, the ideal thing is like, you need to know what is the value of the product. And Some clients, they don't know what the value is. They just like, I want a website, but I have no idea how I make money with a website, in a way. You know what I mean? But the website can make billions of dollars.
Yeah, well, 100%. So I mean, so it comes down to the why, right? And I'm actually interested what because the thing that I think all of us as creatives that we have a problem with is we get in that kickoff meeting, and it's hard for us to, and I've done this a few times, but it's hard to get to that place where you say, you know what, I don't think you need my services. Now, how many times have you ever done that? I mean,
I kind of had that with talking about the one guy where I'm like, I want to help him, but I'm also don't want to help him. And I'm just like, okay, I gave him a bunch of game, what I would do if I were him, and why he should do it himself, because like obviously it costs money. And if he does not have money, it's probably cheaper to do it himself, even if it's a little bit messed up. It might convert, might not convert, but it's better doing than not doing. And that's how I kind of did it, like basically like telling him like, yeah, if I would do it, it would cost X amount of money, because like I did that for that other client, and he's like, I love what you did with him. And I'm like, yeah, but that was like $1,600, and I gave him a hookup and everything, and he liked it because it was professional. But if he wants to do it on the iPhone, it looks less professional. And if you want to try to close a high-ticket client with an iPhone video, it might be rougher than when it looks like highly produced and has low views, versus like a low production with low views because it's a boring video,
Yeah. So in that case, you're kind of like, ooh, you're not here yet, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I've started to do, but I haven't done really well, I'm going to be honest, but I've seen other creatives do is like, if they only have $100-$200, let's say, they're like, I only have $200 for this, then you consult, then you can do some like, okay, for now, I'll give you an hour or two of my time to do like an intensive little workshop to get you going, which I know you do. You definitely teach people. You have no problem giving people the trade secrets.
I do it for free though. I should charge.
You should charge, because people are happy to pay a lot of the time because you're giving them really good stuff. I mean, every time I've ever asked like, hey, do you mind like paying me for like an hour of my time? Most people, because I only ask that obviously when I don't do that if I haven't given them any value, but like, they're like, oh yeah, I definitely, so, I think that's the thing. One thing that I really thought of yesterday, and I thought it was a really cool epiphany I had because I was thinking about some of these recent estimates, there hasn't been many, but there's some recent estimates where it just was too much money. And you can tell, it's funny. I don't know if you've ever sent an estimate where you're like way out of the ballpark. You can just tell by their reply, I think. They're like, oh, well, thanks for making sure we, like, I don't know, just their language is like kind of like withdrawn. They're not like, oh, cool, I'll get this right to him, I'll get back to you. They're like, oh, well, thanks for communicating that. We'll have to think on this. Like, so, but anyway, like, I guess my point is on those cases, I was thinking about like, what were the things that they wanted? So like one of the use cases was like, if I enter a contact form, I want an email to go out to the guy. So if you sign up for an event, you get an email that says, hey, thanks for signing up for an event. And so I kind of estimated way too much money for that. And I was like, oh, because I was thinking of it as a contractor, as a guy that's building your fence, that's building your deck, and those are like 10,000, 15,000 easily, right? Where I should have thought of this more as a mechanic who, if you go to get your car fixed and he comes out and he's like, ooh, it's going to cost $300, you're like, oh man, can you get that down lower? And you're like, and he's trying to find the cheapest part. It's like, there really is these two worlds that we live in that we have to think about, that like
both are valid.
And both are valid. And if we can't identify which one's the right one, then if you think they're a mechanic client, but actually they were the contractor client, and they're like, oh, if it's $500, huh? Okay, well, no, we're good. Send that invoice right now. And you're like, wait a minute, that was too easy. Oh crap.
That kind of reminds me of like a thing, like it's like when you do a proposal, and you can call it a treatment or whatever, or a solution, it's usually like a PDF of like 5 pages, whatever, and I was being good with like having like a page of like inspiring, where it's like, okay, this is how I would monetize it, this is what I would do with it, so that they see the value that I see, because there's the option of like, hey, this is how you can make money with a website. I would do XYZ, you get the possibilities of XY, and you just highlight all the possibilities and the potential value. If they do it, it's on them, but you just enable them. And you need to show them like, hey, this is a way or not, But then I was also like changing my proposals a little bit. So it's like they're always a little bit different. And the one that I'm like, where I'm like, dang, I did not do that part, where I'm like, I did not give them the vision and the dream and the vacation, I just sold them like, hey, yeah, you get this is like the boat right there, you get the free meals, you get this and you get that, and just
you
like,
went in the details, and they're like,
it's like, yeah, why would I care about that? Yes, there are cool benefits and that has a lot of value, but if you don't see the benefits and the value with the bigger vision, what it could do, you know?
Yeah. Well, 100%. Yeah, no, yeah. And that's the thing, because we do make decisions based on emotion, right? So it's like, if you just get into the nitty gritty and you're like, and you're talking all this tech talk, like that's the thing too, is we just assume people care about all the tech things that we're going to talk about. Or we're like, it's going to be 8 different layouts and like at these different, and we're like, they're like, I don't, just tell me real package. Like, I don't know. Like, But yeah, I think you're right there, where it's like, you know, sometimes having that bigger vision. Now I guess my question is, so you made it sound like that was like in a PDF, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you walk them through that at all?
So I usually don't, because I'm too lazy for that. It's like,
see, because I think you should, because I've learned this just even in the branding process. Anytime you give someone something passive, like, hey, Fitz, here's everything you should do with your brand, and that gives you time to look at it and be like, I don't know, poke holes in it, maybe not read everything I wanted you to read, maybe misunderstand some things. It's better when you walk people through it, because then that's the value.
That is a good point, because like you're right with that, and it makes it easier, because like if you get them hyped up because you're hyped up about it, you know, like then they feel that, and then they're like, why is he hyped up? And then you explain why this can be really cool. It's like the OnlyFans girl who's like, okay, gonna make my own batch of content, and then I make $50,000 in 1 month. You know, it's like crazy money. And it's like, yes, you can do it with an iPhone. And it's like, the vision is great or terrible, however you want to see it. But it's like, it's like...
But yeah, I think you're the valuable person in it. I think that's the thing, is you're almost more valuable than the information you give, in a way. It's like, you know, it's this conversation. I think that's when people really let their guard down, is when they feel like you're just talking to them. I'm just right here next to you explaining to you what a good website is, rather than here's a 30-page dissertation on websites. Go ahead and read that. Like, you're not going to read it probably, and if you do, you're going to like skip through it, and you know, because you don't have the same passion, right? That's the same thing. Like, if you're walking them through a video campaign, they don't have the same passion as you. They're not going to read through it. They're not going to be like, oh, that's very interesting that he chose that, and they're going to be like, oh, sure, this looks great. I don't.
but that is like the thing. Like, sometimes I've, like I said, I forgot, for example, in like a 2 proposal where I had the explanation of like how I would use them, what the benefits are, XYZ. Theoretically, like, okay, if the video is being seen and you close one client with that video, you know, let's say the video gets like 10,000 views, 5,000 or whatever, and just one person closes, then you make like $5,000, you know. That is like, oh, now the price of the video is really low. Now it's like a realistic anchor, because like, even if you do now a whole campaign with like 20, 30 videos, now it's even better. So it's like, it makes more sense. But if you don't do that, it's really hard to close them on like, hey, you get 30 videos, you know, if you don't remind them of like, hey, this is the potential outcome that could happen, you know.
Well, the way I do websites, because websites are like, they're a living document. They're supposed to change, you know. It's not like I'm going to design your website today and for the next 10 years I'm going to be like, nope, that's the best it could possibly be. It's so I kind of build that in. Even when I give someone their website, I'm kind of like, we're running analytics, and we're running analytics not for my benefit. It's not like I'm going to hide analytics. Like, if there's something I said, no, everyone's going to go to this page, they're going to love that button on the homepage, they're going to get to that page, and we look at the analytics in a year and that's not true, I'm okay with that. So it's like, so there's that trust too. Is there like, Sean's not just trying to be right. Like, Sean's actually open to being wrong in this process. And I think that's powerful too. When you're like, even in social media land, I think there's so many social media people like, it's going to be this way, and then it's not. And then they're like, okay, well, you're a fucking liar. And it's like, where you need to be like, I think this is going to be good, but we're going to look at it and we're going to adjust. And I think that's a better approach of like, you know, because even Mr. Beast puts out something and adjusts it immediately with that same day multiple times. So it's like, that's really the mindset all of us creatives need to be, is because if you make it like it's either my way or the highway, then if they find any holes in your way, then it is the highway. Then it is like, screw this guy, I can find someone else.
I mean, like, the struggle of like invoicing, proposals, and all the fun stuff. That's like kind of the stuff where you want to get in, because like, if you don't have clients, you know, it's none of your problems. Or if you only have one, you know, it's like, let's shoot my shot. It's like, hey, video 500, gotcha.
Well, I think this is a good thing to wrap up on too, is that So recently I got a client that they were already about to use somebody else. Like it was going to be a whole different, so they were going to do a branding and a website. They already had someone for the branding. They told me at the very beginning, I already have people I'm looking at, but I may give you the website. the way I think I won the branding over too, because I ended up winning the branding, all this swept the rug out from these other people. Yeah. And one of the reasons, first off, is I understood them. I listened to them and I gave them ideas for free. I gave them a few things for free, which you do really well. Just got them excited, Yeah. But the big thing was I was responsive. I was quick. They were like, hey, can you give me some examples from work? And it didn't take 3 days. I got like 2 hours. Boom, here it is. And they were like, can you send over an estimate? Boom, it was there. Hey, can we talk about this? Boom. We were talking about it. And I think like that kind of like, hey, I care, I'm here, I'm like, I'm seeing you. I think that was enough. So many people take so long through the process of estimates and these things where it's like, so there's another job right now that I'm probably about to steal from another guy because they
stealer.
Yeah, because we
little thief
in the night. But but like, they've had 5 days to send an estimate, this other guy. And I'm like, I sent one within an hour. Yeah. And so they're like, oh, okay, we're still waiting on his estimate. So,
how pretty are your estimates? Now I'm curious. Just like
they're pretty in the way that like
they have numbers on,
big numbers, so they look prettier. The more numbers, the prettier.
Numbers.
But there's lots of space on them, and sometimes for like a website or like a branding process, I'll actually do a few paragraphs where I talk through their problem, and they love that because it's like I'm talking about everything, like like what this guy needs is this and this and this, what your company is going to need is these things, and so the process. And I also tell them about the process because I think we all get caught in assuming people understand the process. Like,
no, they don't,
and they don't know like how a video design process works. Like, do I get to give you revisions? How many rounds of revisions? Like, they don't know how things work. They don't. So I kind of put that in there too, but. So there maybe be 2 pages tops, or one is but even yesterday where it didn't really need that. It was just collateral and stuff. It was just like, we just need you to make ads and things like that. And so I was just like, okay, so it's very simple. It's like, it just like line items, exactly what it is. No fluff, no like a paragraph about how this will do this or that. It's just like social media post at these 3 sizes, brochure at this size, doing this photo edit on this photo, and then just a simple price, and like keeping it simple. Like that's all they want. They don't. I used to fluff it up a little bit more than that. I will for larger projects, right? If we're doing a full branding website, you're a big company, or like it's a whole redesign, so there's all these moving pieces, then I'll there's even sometimes I'll do a little timeline. So if they're like, we need to be live by Q1 of next year, I'll kind of plot that out of like, okay, that means we need to review this and we need to remove that. And it'll be like a little timeline, but a lot of the time it's just simple. It's like,
the simpler the better.
Yeah. And it's less work on me, and it just looks beautiful because there's white space. It's not cluttered.
Another thing that I really like about it is actually like when you prepared. So that's like, I have several prepared like PDFs where it's like, okay, now we're changing the text. Now we're doing XYZ. Right. Well, because like I like pretty proposals. I like pretty invoices, even though they're not as efficient. Like it takes me a day usually to send out stuff like that, because everything is custom, and that's like, I think it's a benefit, because it's not like, it's like cookie cutter, where it's like, oh yeah, just change the price and change the line item and send it out. And I'm like, because I feel like, but it's like both works, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I do agree. Every touch point's important. So I tell that to branding clients even, that like, all the things that you send a client should reflect the quality that you want to reflect, right? So so I agree. The estimate should look good. Don't have it be like some shitty Word document, and don't write it just like in the email, like really quickly. File. Oh, I think it's going to cost $8,000. Like, don't do that either. That's not really an estimate. Like, and so, but I do that if it's like $500. I'll write it in the email. Like, I'm not going to make an estimate for $200, like, but I like your flow. First off, it sounds like you're just changing a few things. That's fine. Like, so like, and what I do is I look at past estimates to kind of take some things from it, right? So if like I know this estimate had a timeline, I'll go back and start from there. Or if I know this estimate has like a website and a branding I did on it, I'll start from there. So I kind of, but a lot of it's sort of custom. Thank God we have like GPT too, and I don't start with GPT. A lot of people out there, I still say don't start with it. What I tell people is write first. You be creative, then you put that in a GPT, then it'll like refine it.
This reminds me now, like, oh god, the speed of like implementation, and I'm like, yes, I need to use ChatGPT first off, and I don't want to type anymore. Rachel is doing that to me, where she's like, yeah, just speak the word, and then when I'm asking how to write it, and I'm like, duh, I should just talk to my phone. I'm like, why I'm not doing that?
Oh, it's so cool. So like what I have now is I actually have, like you've seen, so when I'm like at my house, there's like a mic on an arm, like I have like the mic arm thing. So I'm like seriously at the desk, I'll just flip the mic over, turn it on and be like, all right, so this is what we need. We need this and this and this and this and this and this and this. and it's just like I love it. So cool. I become like a real power user of GPT, and not like, and so like if you're a client of mine, like just know that I'm not using it to do any of my work. I just do it to like check stuff, right? Like I just have it be like, refine this, make this a little bit better.
There's a level to it, you know?
Yeah. It's it's good to like double check stuff. I think some people lean on it too much. I think one of our episodes in the future should be about the cynicism of AI, because I've started to run into people are just really cynical now. They don't really believe in people. They don't believe that anything really has value, that like everything can be done with AI. I can just do it. Yeah. And it can, but not well. I don't think so. But like I think humans can always be a step ahead of AI, unless we all just are like, we want to be down to the base minimums of things, right? Like if you see an AI logo, it's always the base bare level of what it is.
The average IQ of AI just got to 120, so it's on PhD level. So I'm like, that's probably smarter than me right now. So I'm like, if you're realistic, it's just like, I can give you legal advice, and ChatGPT was probably a little bit better. It's same as like if I would like come up with like, it is sad, and I'm like, I think we have to use it in a smart way and implement it, because like we need to be aware of our limitations. And I'm like, I'm like, I can do a lot, but I can be faster when I get scripts. I may not like them, and I don't maybe know why I don't like them, or maybe I don't know why I like them or don't like them, but at least should look at them and like sort them out and know and try, because versus like doing everything myself and then I'm stuck with something that I don't like.
No, they're a great tool. AI is such a great tool for such mundane, crazy stuff. Like, so for example, I had like a prototype yesterday for 40 different pages on a website that I designed all these pages for him. And then the client comes back and he's like, you know what? Can you get me all the text on this entire thing in a Word document? So I've been like, before I'd had to go on each page, copy, paste. So what did I do? I had it export all as a PDF. I literally put that all into ChatGPT and was like, just type up all the content in this PDF. Boom, immediately. Like, is that a bad thing? Would my client be mad at me for that? Probably not, because they're like, you just saved time doing a mundane task that I didn't even want to pay you to do. So that stuff is good. But yeah, there's definitely people out there that like, ChatGPT, I'm going to brand a client. How should I brand them? Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's a coffee shop, so I would try with a coffee bean, and maybe browns are going to be good. It's like, it's the most like bare minimum. And then it's tainted your mind. There goes the creativity. There goes you having a weird idea. It's like now you're down the funnel that we're all going down. Oh, coffee should have a coffee bean that's roasting because that's a cool, like, no, you could have done something cool. You could have been like a Kawa coffee that like makes no sense. It's branding on an AI level, but nope, you've started down the funnel. You're now going to do the.
Yeah. And I mean, like, AI is like a topic that is like really broad and big, and it's like I don't even know how to approach it, because like on the one side, there's the yin and the yang, you're more like artistic, I'm more business, and I'm just like, I'm a little bit more like, oh, AI can do a lot, and I'm like, I don't know, like it's a thing to be determined.
It'll stick around. It will not go away. It's going to stick around. It's going to be used as a tool. It's like saying, the internet or the computer is going to go away or be a fad. Like, no, it's sticking around for sure. I think we all have to learn how to have value and integrity with it, just like we had to learn with the computer, social media, and internet. How do you have integrity, right? And some people didn't learn that, and they're in prison now. So it's like, in theory, that same thing happened with AI. There's already people probably going to prison because of AI making mistakes on their behalf. So
that's like one of those things too, where I'm like, I hear it when they are talking about like AI taking the jobs, and it's like, okay, somebody made a comment of like, okay, so everybody's in retirement, that doesn't sound bad if it works, it's like, oh yeah, now I'm retired. I'm like, okay, instead of like working till I'm 70 or 80, a job that I maybe like or don't like, it could be like, oh, now I'm in retirement, kind of enjoying life. Wouldn't that be kind of the future and dream? I don't know.
It just sounds too good to be true in a capitalist society. I think that's my only, like, well, sure, if we were socialist, but we're not socialist. So
so it's like somebody's stealing a job.
So somebody needs money to pay rent. And like, I don't know. It's, I do get nervous about it. I don't like the people that are like, no, it's going to be great for humanity. Like, no, it's going to be a mixed bag for humanity. Okay.
I think nuts and stones in there.
I think a lot of white collar people are going to become blue collar people because because of this. I think that's what it's going to ultimately be, is like, you know, and I always make a joke out there that, like, you know, if web design and design doesn't work out and the robots take that, and I'm going to paint. And when the robots take over the painting, then I'm going to make quesadillas out of a food truck, because
quesadillas it is.
And then if the robots take that and they make quesadillas at a food truck better than me, then I'm going to just be homeless or rob banks. I don't really know. Like,
and RoboCop is chasing you then.
but it's cool. I mean, our generation's really funny because we're different than the boomers and stuff too, because we don't have this like this romanticism for having a job either. It's like I
want to know what they think.
I think every boomer I talk to is like, woo, I missed that one. Like, they're like all happy they got their money, they got 4 properties, they're renting out. Like, they're like, all right, you know, when I was your age, there was definitely no AI, there was barely internet, like there was no competition. Like when I talk to designers from like the 70s and 80s,
though? That too, like
the kids, I don't know. I actually worry for them. I'm like, if I was a designer right now as a kid, I mean, it's like, it's interesting. It's like there's less gates for them, right? Like, so like a young gun could become your eye level way easier than we could have at their age back in the day, I think, because there's a lot less gates now. There's a lot more openings, but in the same breath though, like, I just feel like
it's going so far away too, you know, it falls off instantly. It's like, oh, yep, no tool does that now, you know?
Yeah, well, and I think it's like they're growing up in a time where people are losing trust over creativity, and that kind of sucks. Like, even that's something I didn't have to even go through. Like, when I was like getting my first jobs, they didn't think that a robot could do it better than me. And now these new guys get to deal with that. They get like, so how many logos have you designed? They're like, well, not one professionally yet. And they're like, oh, so you versus a robot, we're like, you and I think can survive because we have years already behind us. Like, you know, we already have that helping us.
Different skills too.
But if we didn't have any clients, no experience, it's hard to fight off that, I think.
Yeah, it's all about network now.
But I think it comes back to creating, right? Like we've talked about it, the people that just grind away and create stuff and create a persona and really put that work in their own self-branding and creating stuff and having good relationships, they'll survive. They'll survive. So even if you're a young gun watching this, that's your move, man, is like, just, you know, make good stuff, make good relationships. You'll survive. You'll survive.
You will be fine.